It's nice to see you. It's always nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. You're looking very nice white shirt with a little black accent at the collar. It's lovely.
Thank you. It's actually a little bit see-through.
Aha! Yeah, I was getting that.
Yeah. When I bought it, I didn't think it was see-through, but I think it became see-through quite quickly.
It's very nice, and it lets me know that you're looking very slender today.
Am I?
Yeah.
I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
Because I've eaten a lot of cake in the last week.
I think it might be because I can see through to your infrastructure. I don't know if that's what they call it.
I think my infrastructure thanks you for being able to see it. This shirt is from The Gap, so I guess that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You should be able to see through something from The Gap. I have got, I don't know if you can see, my autumn beard is coming in.
Oh. When you say it's coming in, it's like it... How does it know what season it is?
Well, it's about how much I trim it. It's not the beard knowing. It's me saying, I take it quite tight in and sort of sharp at the edges in the summer. And then as the autumn starts, when I see my first spider, that's when I go, okay, stop tidying up the beard, start to look like an old man of the mountains.
And do you like spiders?
I love them. I think they're beautiful. I have one on my arm as we speak.
Oh, yes, that's right. Of course you do. Of course you do. That's a good thing for avid midlifing listeners to know, that if they see a man walking around with a spider tattoo, that it could be you and an autumnal beard.
It could be me. I have a friend who is a tattooist in Helsinki. He's actually many things. He's a tattooist, and he is a music producer, and he is a lighting designer. He's another one of those slashies that we spoke of last week.
Yes. He's a polyglot. No, that's something about language, isn't it?
No, but he is also a polyglot. I've never met a Finn who isn't a polyglot. Not just like bilingual, but multilingual.
Yeah.
It's
got nothing else to do in the winter.
There's blueberries to pick.
In the winter?
No, probably around about this time. We had a very good forage up in Lapland and got a lot of blueberries, something akin to a blueberry, and lots of mushrooms, although we had to throw some away.
I like that there's something akin to a blueberry.
Yeah, I mean, they were blueberry adjacent, and I mean this figuratively and literally, in the sense that the bushes were next to the blueberry bushes, and they're related in some way, but the taste was slightly less
sweet.
Yeah, I think it was there was a kind of, they were just a bit different, and everybody preferred the blueberries, but they were nice. The other things that I don't know what they were called were really nice in scones.
I like a blueberry or cousin of blueberry in a scone.
This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. I had a strange week. I went out for a meal on Thursday night with a friend, an old Kiwi friend actually, and we went to the same restaurant that I went the previous week at exactly the same time that he didn't show up for. I got stood up.
My mouth is agape.
Yeah, I got stood up by a very very old dear friend from New Zealand who didn't get a better offer, just forgot.
Oh my God, I love that. I love the complete forgetting. I kind of liked it.
I liked also particularly the moment, because I was waiting quite patiently, because as you know, I'm a patient. Anyway, as you know, I'm
patient adjacent.
I mean, anyway, yeah. And I thought I'd text him eventually, about an hour after he was supposed to arrive. And I got a message back, 4 letters, A-H, the first one, and F-K, the second. Fuck. So yeah, I had a big meal by myself while reading philosophy in an Indian restaurant not in a West End town in the West close to Waterloo Station, and then we went to the same place this week. It was lovely. It was lovely to see him, and he was apologetic. And I
Did he shout your dinner?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I arrived about 3 minutes late, and I said, "Oh mate, I'm so sorry for being late."
I love that.
It was great. It was a real pleasure to see him. He did say, I don't think he's listened to this once, so I can say whatever I want about him. But he did say, he goes, this would be great material for your podcast. Well, in fact, I think he used the word content. Content.
Because he's a good lad. He knows that we call it content. Content is king.
Oh, we've had a message, which is exciting because even better is that the message was preempted by a message to you.
Yes, it was, because I don't know Mena, who sent us the message, and so she sent me a message to check that she had the right telephone number for me, which I thought was really thoughtful. And then she followed it up with a voice message, which I didn't want to open because I thought that might be the question and I didn't want to preempt it. And then I thought, but I should probably preempt it. Hang about.
Hi, Jeff.
1 second.
Wow.
Is that someone knocking on the door? I'll get it. I've got to go and get at the door.
Okay. I'm not going to read the message.
What? Why are you barking? What's going on?
I really hope he doesn't cut this bit out. Talk about, as Lee would say, podcast gold. Or maybe it's adjacent to podcast gold, podcast silver. I don't know why, but I feel this. Always feel this need to keep talking while Lee's not there. I think it might be a podcasting tic or some kind of psychological deficit. Oh, I can hear Bob's voice too. That's so exciting. I think that's Bob making a first appearance on the... Oh no, she did say something one time.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, Jeff just went off on a right one at the postman, who he knows very well. So I don't know why he was barking at the postman. And I opened the door.
Do you think the postman smelled a bit strange or something?
I don't know. I think Jeff might have been fast asleep, and sometimes if he's caught in a dream, he'll get a bit like, "What's going on? I'm asleep. Why are you doing things?" And so I just opened the door and said, "It's the postman, you sausage." And the postman replied, "Yes, it is the postman," which is a nice response. And Bob was worried that the postman might have thought I was calling him a sausage, which I wasn't.
You're calling Jeffrey a sausage?
Yeah. Can you check I shut the front door properly, Bob? Thanks. Chaotic today. So sorry.
So Mena, she sent you an audio file in order so that you pronounced her name correctly.
Yes, but I didn't know that's what it was when it arrived, because obviously you have to listen to an audio file to know what's in it. And I was thinking, what if this is the question? I don't want to preempt knowledge. So I left it.
Would have been great.
Yeah.
You know that we could have put the audio in the podcast.
I maybe feel that I could just drop it in here.
Hi, Lee. I'm sure Simon will nudge you in the right direction, but a heads up that my name is pronounced Mena, as in men and women. Mena, not Mina. Mena. Looking forward to hearing the podcast.
Yes, so because I would have called her Mina.
That's so cute, because she said, "I'm sure that Simon will guide you in the right direction," but evidently she was right.
She knows Mena is the oldest daughter of some dear friends in Australia, but Mena is also a polyglot. She is one of those people. In fact, I can't believe I asked her, because she speaks lots of languages. Mm-hmm. She's a musician. Mm-hmm. She's quite sharp. She's very funny. And it's just a little bit annoying. It's a little bit annoying when you meet young people.
Who are good.
Who are really good.
Yeah.
Who are really talented.
Yeah.
And so I think we should talk about something else.
Well, I've been trying to cultivate relationships with people who have children who are adequate at best. It's just not working.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's not working. Unfortunately,
oh, really?
No, all of my friends' children are either just pure delight, just like little bundles of hilarity and sweetness, or really fucking capable. And it's quite dull.
Hmm.
So all I get is, do you want to hear about so-and-so's latest achievements? No, because they're like 12 and they outstrip anything I've managed to do so far in my life. So let's move on.
Yes, I think that's the... I do actually... In fact, this involved Mena. I remember in before times, Mena was staying with us and we went to a party at a friend's place who also has a similar aged... So, a bit younger, actually a bit younger. Mena must be mid-20s. And I remember these, her and this other young woman they were just so incredibly articulate. And I think it's the first time I became really aware of being really middle-aged in my kind of thinking, and that seeing that it was a little bit like the feeling that the world belonged to them now. And it was really confronting.
I was reading this morning, and I will paraphrase, and hopefully, Simon, you'll be able to do a proper job of putting this in the show notes. The resignation letter that Steve Jobs wrote when it was clear that he wasn't going to recover from pancreatic cancer. And so he was stepping down from CEO of Apple and suggesting that Tim Cook take over.
Yep. And so I like that, Tim Cook. I think that's exactly what they call him around the Apple Central headquarters or whatever it's called. Tim Cook.
Yeah, he. So he wrote in this letter, about I think we should move forward with the succession plan that was in place, but then it goes on to reference the fact that we are designed to die, and that's the thing that makes life exciting. Is that we might feel young and vibrant, but there will be a moment where we're not young and vibrant, we're old, and we will have to be cleared out of the way to make space for the new. And your experience of being, cleared out of the way by Mena and other capable young women, it's a delight.
It's funny because I've just been, someone stuck me onto Succession, the TV program called Succession. Wow.
Is it harsh?
It's like watching the most dysfunctional family possible, and just they're all vipers, just all utterly loathsome human beings, yet delightfully funny at the same time, and also they're filthy rich. It's so interesting. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it just gets better and better as well. But yeah, it's hard watching because it's just I don't really want to think of humans as being like that, but we are. I mean, not
we are. I
some
mean,
of
no,
us.
but some of us are, and yeah.
Maybe we should just jump cut to Mena.
I think da, 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 is the only way to do it. I'll just put a stinger in. And
do you want to read it?
I'd love to. Especially because I've not looked at it until just this minute, and I'm already loving Mena.
Oh, she is such a suck.
Oh, well, last week it was like lovely Simon and Lee. This week it's Dear Simon and Lee, brackets with the lovely voice, close brackets.
I think she meant to say lovely voices. There's just an error there.
Yeah, I'm going to let you have that. I mean, it's wrong, but I'm going to let you have it. Thanks for inviting me onto your podcast, which makes me giggle every episode.
I don't think she's listened to every episode, just to be clear.
That sentence can certainly be interpreted that every episode she listens to, she finds something to giggle at.
Every episode.
All the
one episodes I've lived.
Here's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. I've noticed that in some of my relationships, I spend more energy worrying about the other person's feelings than my own, and feel guilty about admitting what I want or need. Ooh. But others in my life, usually boys, seem to plough forward completely unaware of their effect on others. In short, I'm curious about the different ways we learn or not to carry other people's emotions. Oh, wise ones, do you have any advice?
It's in capitals. Wise ones is in capitals.
It really is. Oh, wise ones, do you have any advice on navigating this emotional landscape? Any epiphanies you'd like to share? Thanks in advance for your wisdom. P.S. This is not about my mum. And this is a lovely P.P.S. Simon, your voice is good too. It's good. It's not lovely. Oh, Mena, this is an awesome, awesome territory to negotiate because, yeah, I like how her experience of it has been so gendered. And I think...
You like that?
I like it because it allows me to just take a moment to reflect. because when she was writing it, no, I have no idea what she was doing when she was writing it. When I was reading it, and because it's sort of sequential, I was thinking about myself in her space and the idea that, I spend more energy worrying about the other people's feelings. And so immediately I was empathetic to her, and I was thinking, this is me. This is the way I am in the world.
Oh, I see. And then she throws in the little the twist in the tail, the scorpion. Her
perspective being actually that boys seem to just be able to plough on. And I then found myself reflecting. I'm in the middle of writing a book proposal.
Are you?
Yeah. And I wrote under the section that says, why should we publish it? And I didn't really think about writing it. I just wrote it. And then Bob then comes in and does her draft. And she just shouted at me, went, Lee, have you looked at what you said about why it should be published? When filtered through Bob's perspective, it was like, oh, yeah, I think perhaps there is a sense that I might need to soften the language a little bit, because it does read like I'm saying you will be immeasurably made richer by my mere presence.
My intellect. Yeah. My intellectual prowess.
Yeah. So I think men might be onto something. What do you think?
Well, it's curious, isn't it, what you hang on to? Because I think the part I'm lingering over in my mind is I spend more energy worrying about the other person's feelings than my own, and feel guilty about admitting what I want or need. And I guess I was thinking about that with the question, how do we know that we're doing something more than or less than another person? That someone's not thinking about you or thinking about other people might be expressed in just ploughing forward and going on and saying whatever they want, right? Even though the external effect of that might be that it seems like that person's taking space in a quite, let's say, solid way. So yeah, that's the thing that comes to mind for me. I'm not suggesting that men's experience of it as more of a gendered thing is not interesting or that isn't worth talking about. In part because I was thinking just yesterday, I was thinking about that idea, the words toxic and masculinity, and it made me think what masculinity means these days, and how we know when masculinity is toxic and when it isn't. But that seems like a pretty big question which might drag us right away from this idea of worrying about other people's feelings and one's own, and how do you maintain or hold on to some sense of your own self-worth and the importance of your own feelings.
There's so many pathways to follow here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
Wasn't that helpful?
I was actually thinking in Mena's message there are so many pathways, because you just opened up that question of effectively how do you know what conversation you're in when you're in a conversation with somebody else, which is territory that we've explored before. That sense of you just don't.
You just don't.
You know.
You don't.
So there's that, but this is freighted with a different kind of anxiety, isn't it? It's the sense that she's imagining being in a particular type of, which is what we all do. We all imagine we're in a conversation, even when we're speaking. She's imagining she's in a particular type of conversation, but she's also feeling that she's not being heard, or at least she is taking the decision, or she feels maybe it's that it's being placed on her, the weight of kind of the emotional labor of worrying about that other person's
feelings.
Yeah, space in the conversation, their feelings, all of those sorts of things. So that's one bit about how do we know that we're in
and then the different and this carrying other people's emotions, about the different ways we learn or not to carry other people's emotions. Yeah,
and who takes responsibility. So I think that's a really interesting line of thought. But I also do think the fact that she raises the lived experience that she's had, which is that boys seem less burdened.
Yeah. Which
kind of does take us, I think, to questions of how men are being trained. And so I don't think saying that the phrase toxic masculinity drags us down and away from the question. I think it's enmeshed in it, and we might find our way back to the request for advice later on. But I'm curious what your perspective on toxic masculinity is, because I don't think we've talked about that. We've talked about our masculinities, you and me, we've talked about the fact that, we've talked about notions of shame, and we've talked about notions of desire, and we've talked about, what kind of men we think we are. But I don't think we've done that in relationship to a larger taxonomy of masculinity. We've not...
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so it's really... I can feel my, just so you know, I can feel my kind of skin temperature just sort of just rise a little bit as I start to kind of think, oh. Because I guess toxicity, the word implies or means literally some kind of poison. That something that is toxic is poisonous, that it makes us sick, right? And so I think there's a simple aspect, which is, well, who is being made sick? So that if I'm behaving in a particular way, and those behaviors might be tropes of being a man, and I can talk about what those tropes are and how I've experienced them and how I've performed them as a human being, that there's a thing for me which I think is fundamental, but I don't know this, and you're probably... I suspect you're far more well read about this kind of thing than I am, but that everyone's being poisoned, not only the people who are, you say, propagating, but also the people on the receiving end. That if I'm expressing my masculinity in a toxic way, I'm also poisoning myself as well as the people around me.
Oh, I think. I suspect that perhaps in some of the more populist narratives, like the BuzzFeed kind of discourse. It may well be that toxic masculinity is kind of the thing that is levelled at behaviours and that need to be fixed because you are doing this to us.
Yes.
But I think in masculinity studies as a kind of an offshoot of feminism, which is a relatively well-established field now, there is absolutely the sense that the toxicity it's poisoning the water. It's not you're not dripping bits into somebody else's drink as a toxic man and watching them slowly wither.
What's that? Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah. You're not doing that. You are absolutely leaching it out, and it's poisoning everybody, including yourself. I mean, the in some arguments, I think that young men suffer as much because, and I pause here because when we start to talk about violence meted out against women, I'm totally not meaning that, but at the same time, and I think we might have touched on this in the past, that the biggest killer, I think after car accidents for men between 18 and 44 is death by suicide. So there is a sense that that's part
something's
of that.
Wrong.
Yeah, that's part of that toxicity, isn't it? So I think, and yeah, this is probably me going well off the rails of what Mena wants us to talk about, but it feels that if you are being... What's that fucking awful film where Leonardo DiCaprio eats a bear's liver?
It's a really interesting film. I can't remember what it's called, though.
There are two women in it. One's a sex worker and the other one's a dead wife.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not a really interesting film.
And you're saying that has some relationship to about the way in which we, human beings, learn or not to carry people's emotions.
If you are looking at cultural product where women don't exist and they don't have rich interior lives, and they are reduced to their use value, yes. I think we understand ourselves through art. I think we understand ourselves through the relationship between cultural product and where we see ourselves within it. And we learn how to be a person by being in the world, but also by seeing the world reflected back to us. If we see a version of the world where women are either absent or reduced to use value, why would we be expected as men to worry about Mena's emotional needs? Why would the boys that Mena is concerning herself with, why would they be worried about carrying her feelings when she is not actually something which is capable of having feelings? Why would we expect her to do anything other than carry our emotional needs? Because that's what every wife and girlfriend in every Adam Sandler film has ever done.
Yeah, but but they don't think that, right? I don't know. It's just that I'm trying to express something which I'm trying to express something which I'm not sure I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that because I don't like, and I play this role. I don't mean just in our conversations, but it's a very easy role for me to play, like the devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to be cautious about that line, and I'm trying to be cautious about it because part of the line you're drawing is it actually would alienate me further. What responsibilities do we have towards someone who's listening to this and thinking, what a lot of bullshit. What a lot of bullshit that we can't make films like The Revenant. The Revenant was a great film. Life was deeply masculine in those days, etc., right? Mm-hmm. And that the idea that somehow you shouldn't watch a film like that because the women in it are effectively cardboard cutouts with no emotional kind of depth or no... again, Lee...
You're talking about how do you make space for somebody who might not hold my frustratingly strident perspective on gender politics. How might we make space for them?
I don't think they're frustratingly strident.
Oh, I think there will be somebody, unless I do a better job of editing than I usually do. I think there will be a subset of our listeners who go, "Fucking hell! I'm glad I don't have to have the conversation with Miller. I'm glad I only have to listen."
Imagine what it's like having the unedited conversation with Lee Miller. Hey man, all you listeners, I feel you. It's hard. It's difficult, but someone's got to do it, right?